Tiera Skovbye, welcome to An Actor's Spares. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. I love the spring thing we have going on. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love everything that you've done. It's such an amazing career you've been able to pa pave out for yourself at such a young age. It's nothing short of a coup getting work in this business, but getting started and continuing to work I have so many friends that are child actors, and it, Hollywood isn't easy on any of them. And it's so cool that everything's evolved so well for you. And I'm just so honored to talk to you.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. That means so much.
Yeah. So if it's cool with you, let's start from the beginning. Where did you grow up?
For sure. I grew up here in Vancouver, like a few blocks away from where I live now.
Oh, no way. Was that intentional
Yeah.
that you got the place there, or it just worked out?
I mean, downtown Vancouver itself is all pretty small. But no, I love Vancouver. Like I've obviously like traveled and worked and lived in other places, but I think Vancouver will always be home. And I've been lucky enough to be able to work here or go off and work for a couple months and have this be home base.
So what was it like growing up there for you? What did your parents do? Are they artists?
They're not. No, both my parents just had, very normal jobs. And my sister is also in the industry as well, Allie. But no, I got scouted at a children's festival when I
Wow.
was like 6 or 7, and an agent came up to my mom and was like, "Hey, your daughter is really cute. Like, would she want to do commercials?" And my parents were kind of like, "Well,
Some
what?" Like,
Datelines concern,
they were
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's kind of weird. But me and my sister were doing, they put me and my sister in all sorts of things like sports or martial arts or music,
Yeah.
like just to kind of give us the options. And they were like, well, this is, it happened for a reason. Might as well explore it. And then that's kind of how my sister got into it when she was born and she got older. But yeah, nobody in my family was in it before me.
Wow, that's amazing. And so when your parents signed off on it, obviously, when you got in, were you just doing mostly commercial auditions?
Yeah, for the first few years when I was little, it was just commercial auditions, and I did a ton of commercials growing up. But I didn't start like segueing more into film and TV until I was probably, I think, like 11 or 12.
Wow. And so once you
Yeah.
got into just the commercial, did you start to like immerse yourself in classes or doing plays at school or anything like that?
I went to a school that didn't really have any kind of theater or arts program. It was a very small school. And I, in school, was just focused on playing sports. And I
Yeah.
was, at the same time, I was doing, like, I was on a club league for volleyball. And I was like, I'm going to be a volleyball
Oh, so
player.
that's your that's your sport?
Yeah, that's my sport for sure. And I was like,
That worked out well with the
and
miracle season then.
that
Yeah.
was amazing. Miracle season was like the most fun for that.
Oh,
Absolutely. I
Erin's a
love
friend.
that.
She did the show. I love Erin.
Oh, cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
Erin's amazing. Yeah, but I was playing volleyball, and then I started studying this acting class that was on weekends, and balancing the volleyball and the acting classes started to get too much as I got a bit older.
Yeah.
And I ended up picking acting because I broke my ankle, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to be a volleyball player.
Yeah.
And then yeah, then it was once I started studying acting more that I became a bit more serious about it for sure.
And then talk to me about the transition. Like, was your agent, both commercial and legit, or did you have to find another legit agent to?
No, it was both. I mean, I feel like as any actor does, you kind of bounce around agents and managers and LA managers until you find a good fit, especially being a Canadian. Once you're in Canada and you start auditioning in Canada, once you reach a certain point, you want to venture into the US market. And so then
Yeah.
you have to look for a US manager or a US agent. Um, but no, I have a really amazing team now I've got a manager and an agent in LA, and then I've got an agent here. Not to make things complicated at
No, I
all.
get it. I totally get it. Oh man, I hope that's not 60% though. Or it.
It's not, thank God. But no, it's a lot.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So talk to me. Painkiller Jane was your first TV thing,
Hmm.
right? How was that?
Yeah,
Do you remember the audition?
I do. I remember it was one of my first auditions with lines. Um, and I was very nervous and I messed up all of my lines multiple times. Just the first line. Like I couldn't get the first line out for whatever reason. I was so nervous. I kept messing up, but I kept being like, can I do it again? Can I do it again? Instead of like getting frustrated or like, I just was like determined to get it right.
Yeah.
I remember getting in the car with my mom being like, I didn't say a single line right, but oh well. Like I
Yeah.
didn't really care. Like there was not, it was just still, it was, I mean, it is still fun, but at the time there was no
Pressure.
like nerves or
Yeah.
pressure. Like I was very much like, oh, this is fun. This is a hobby. And now I'm going to go back to school. Like, but I remember I had to go, once I booked it, I had to go and do, go into like, to train how to shoot a gun. And I
Wow.
was like 11
Oh
and I
my
was
God.
terrified. And I remember it was like a real moral compass moment for my mom being like, am I a terrible mother for like allowing my child to go and do this? Like, should I be okay with this?
Yeah.
But it was very nerve-wracking. And it wasn't just like, here's a little like, it was like 2 machine guns. And then when that scene, when the show came out, that scene had gotten completely taken out because there had just been a school shooting like
I
the
was going to
day
say,
before
wow.
that episode aired. And my mom was like, oh no, I made her go through all of that trauma for nothing.
I got to ask though, did it make you feel badass once you did it?
I think I was too young to comprehend badass. Like I think I was just scared. I was like, guns are bad. Why
Yeah,
am I holding one?
totally. I'm
Yeah.
curious though, like if, I think it's so amazing that you were able to get started that young. Talk to me about like the confidence, going, even though you said the first audition didn't go exactly as you planned, showing up on a big set like that and doing, 3, 4 episodes, some easy feat. Like, what was it, class that helped you develop your voice and your confidence, so to speak, or where did that come from?
I mean, I'm sure it was kind of, when I was younger, I was really one of those kids who like had no fear. I was very just like easygoing and I never had a problem like meeting people or making friends. Like I was always one at the park being like, "Hey, you want to be my best friend?" Like so for me, I didn't really feel intimidated. And I also think, kind of when I started, I couldn't really fully comprehend. And I've had this conversation with my sister too, because her first movie was with Ashton Kutcher, Michelle Pfeiffer, and Kathy Bates.
Oh,
And
wow.
she had like zero awareness of how amazing these actors were that she was working with at 5 years old. But I think there was something about that for me too, was I was like, yeah, I'm on TV, like I'm making a TV show, that's cool. But I don't think I quite grasped like what I was doing. So there wasn't a lot of like fear or nerves involved
Yeah.
until I started to, get a bit older and start auditioning for things that I was watching.
Yeah.
And then that's when the reality of like, oh, okay, this is cool.
That's amazing. And I'm curious, like, what was the experience like on Painkiller Jane? Did you, sets, they can be. I mean, I remember my first time I was an extra, I was 14 and I just didn't know they were that big with the lights and everything. Like, did you have someone on set that like helped you, get comfortable, or was it, because you aren't shy, were you just fine on your own?
Well, my parents were always there with me until I was, I think it was 16 or 17. I can't remember what the age is that you can start going to set by yourself. But one of my parents was always with me. And so I think, I do remember the first time going to set like without my mom being like, who's gonna bring me snacks? Like I have to do all of this by myself. Like how am I supposed to find out where to park and like
That
all of these things that like the actual like navigating of the bigness of a set is hard. But I always had a parent there, so I never really felt like I was like lost or like I had to completely rely on myself. And anytime I was confused, I would go to them. So it was, and I think that's an amazing thing to have, a supportive parent there to kind of help guide you through it.
That's amazing. And I hope, your agent was helpful. Talk to me
Oh
about,
yeah, for sure.
what was it, mostly Canadian projects that you that followed Painkiller Jane?
Yeah, for the first little while it was, but living in Vancouver, I've been so lucky to be able to work on some really amazing productions that just happen to film, like US productions that just happen to film here in Vancouver. So much films here. So I auditioned, and I worked, like I did Supernatural when I was really young too,
Yeah,
and that's a big US production. And I actually was on Supernatural twice because the show went for so long
I
that I
remember
could
that.
play two different characters.
That's
and, when I,
amazing.
and when I was on, the guys were like, really hope you don't get to come back and play another character. Really hope we're not here for that long.
That's so funny. It's funny how those CW shows, they can last forever. But
So long.
that's amazing. And I'm curious, at that supernatural moment, pun intended, is that when you started thinking like, oh, maybe I should get American rep?
Yeah, I think it was around there. It was around 11 or 12, but it, you know, I'm 11 or 12 and having zero concept of the industry. An agent actually, or sorry, a manager in LA actually reached out to my Vancouver agent and wanted to sign me. And
Amazing.
my parents and I were we had no, my Vancouver agent was kind of our only guide to the agent. We didn't, or to the industry.
Yeah.
We didn't really have, any other friends or family or anybody that we knew who was in the industry who was doing it that we could ask for advice. And so I think, there was a lot of learning and like, oh, an LA manager, like that's so exciting.
Yeah.
We didn't really know that, oh, is this something that we should be meeting with multiple people for? Because my manager now in LA is not the same one that I had when I was 12. Um, but that's just something you learn. There's so much that this industry is, and I'm still learning. There's still things that I have no idea that I don't know that come up.
Yeah.
But there's just, it's a very complex industry. And, if you don't have a lot of guidance, you kind of just like learn as you go.
Yeah, did you ever, I know different countries, I know you're only in Canada, but like, I have an acting coach. Did you ever have an acting coach that, helped you out? Like you do?
Yeah,
Oh,
I do. I studied at an acting school in Vancouver called Railtown for many years. And then now I'm studying at Deb Podowski. I keep mixing up the name of her old studio. It's Deb Podowski Studios.
okay.
And I've been studying with her for about 5 years now, and she's incredible. And she's definitely one of those people. She's been in the industry a long time. She's an actor herself. So there's a lot of things that, that come up that I go to her, and she's able to provide like amazing support and
Yeah.
advice in.
Yeah, that's amazing. And then, so were your agents and tactically yourself, was it getting more guest stars and reoccurring for the next few years?
Yeah, it was just, just you keep going out, and when you're starting out, you get smaller roles. And at least for me, like it was about like building, my resume and
Yeah.
my comfortability on set, my demo reel and these things. And then, you kind of start branching out into bigger stuff in LA. And then I started going down for pilot season. As I got older, I started going down to LA for like 3 or 4 months every year for pilot season and doing a gazillion auditions a
Yeah.
day.
Wow.
Yeah.
One of the reoccurring themes on this podcast is finding your voice, and not every actor, finds it right away. And I'm curious for you, at what point do you feel like you, Tiera, you felt very confident in the material you were putting out audition and work wise?
I feel like still an ongoing process of being confident. I think for me there was, I had done a lot of work, and I'd done a lot of work in Vancouver. And I think when I started to feel confident in myself was kind of around after Miracle season, because I had done Miracle season. That was like, the first big feature that I was there all day, every day. And pretty much right after that was when I auditioned for Riverdale. And I remember there was a lot of, kind of concern that I hadn't done a reoccurring on a TV show before. And I was like, but I knew I could do it. And I was
Yeah.
like, it's hard where it's like, well, she doesn't have that on her resume, so you can't hire her to do that.
Yeah, it's the catch 22,
But I'm like,
all
how am
actors.
I supposed
Yeah.
to be able to do that if you
Yeah.
don't give me the part?
Yeah.
So it was, I auditioned for that show a lot, and I really felt like I had to prove myself to be there. And, there's also something to be said about being a Canadian fighting for US roles where I'm going up against everyone in the States. And so I think, sometimes Canadians have a bit of a reputation to maybe be not as big or as good or as desirable as Americans, and we have to fight a bit harder. And I've definitely felt that in my career and with certain roles. But it was after I booked Riverdale and after the first season that I was like, okay, I think I can actually do this for my future. Like, I feel like this is something that I deserve to be here. Like, I have put myself out there and I've succeeded, and I feel like I am on the way up.
Yeah, absolutely. You sure are. And I'm curious, because I know there's been, I think it's probably been about 10 years now, a gradual surge of American productions shooting in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
Was it when you got the Riverdale, was that through an American audition or a Canadian audition?
It was a bit of both. The thing that my managers would start to do, which was good, is if they were casting in Vancouver, I would audition here, but then I would also put myself on tape and send it out there.
Nice.
So we're kind of like hitting it from both sides.
Yeah. Love that.
But no, it was through Canadian casting here. And Canadian casting here, what I love about going in auditions here is a lot of these casting directors I've seen since I was like this big. Like, they have watched me grow up and develop as an actor and see me become the person that I am today. And so going into these audition rooms has always been quite refreshing in Vancouver because it's familiar. It's very nice. And I have a really great relationship with the casting directors who cast Riverdale. And they were really, really supportive of me and really fought for me to get the part, which was, meant so much.
Yeah.
But it was through a long series of auditions here in Vancouver. Yeah.
That's amazing. And I mean, were you a fan of the show? Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, I was a huge fan of the show. I was a huge fan of Archie comics growing up. And then I auditioned for Betty a bunch of times for the pilot.
Wow.
And we all have a few auditions that we leave and we're like, I'm not going to be an actor anymore.
Yeah, I know.
Terrible.
Oh man. Yeah.
But that was definitely one of them. I got very nervous in one of my final callbacks in LA. I had flown to LA to call back.
Like a producer session or yeah,
with like everybody, like the whole studio and everybody. And I just could not get the words out. I was nervous. And I remember I got in the car afterwards and I was like, no, I can't be an actor. I'm terrible at this. I quit. I'm doing something else. But and then they brought me in a couple days later for Cheryl.
Oh wow.
And they were like, we've seen you as Betty and you were so nice as Betty, so we really need to see you be like mean. And then I finished the audition. They were like, oh, you're so nice. And I was like, well, I'm not getting this part either, so
man. That's so funny.
But yeah, no, I definitely, was a fan of the show. And then that's when the audition for Polly came around and I knew that they had cast Lily and Machen as, Betty and Betty's mom. I was like, oh, I look like them. This could a fit. This could work. And they knew me. And so I definitely was very hopeful that one would pan out. And it did.
And amazing. And talk to me about that ride, I mean, to show millions and millions of people watch. Is it cool existing in that kind of, powerful medium and having a character that's got such a long running, story arc?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I don't think I grasped at all how big the show was going to get or how invested the fans were going to be.
Yeah, I mean, the fans of that show are so dedicated.
Oh, for sure. They're like, it's and I've gone to a few conventions and it's very humbling and exciting still. Like, I remember for me, the first time that I got recognized, I was at one of my sister's volleyball tournaments. And I was just sitting there and all of a sudden all these girls like from all these volleyball teams recognizing me. I got so excited that I asked if I could also take a picture of this. So like,
no
to remember
way.
the moment.
That's amazing.
Like, I was like, this is so And anytime I get recognized still, my mom cries a little bit if she's with me.
Oh, that's so
But
sweet.
yeah, it's been incredible. Like I feel so lucky, and it's so funny because like my character has gone through a lot, like
Yeah.
a bit of a crazy roller coaster. And so to see the fans so concerned about Polly, like when things aren't going well, is just so sweet. Like I just think it's amazing.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because like one of the fundamental elements to shows like that is melodrama, and how do
Mm-hmm.
you as an actor bring truth to things that can be, really heightened. It can be very tough for actors to do that. Is that something, that you figured out as you went, or talk to me about that?
Yeah, I think for me it's just been something that I try to like find whatever truth I can base it in, and kind
Yeah,
of for, because when we're filming it, I'm thinking of, what are the circumstances for the character? Like what are they going through? Like how would I react in this scenario? And then you watch it back and you're like, oh, with all the like editing and the sounds and the lighting, you're like,
it
oh, it
changes
looks a lot
everything.
more
Yeah,
dramatic. It looks a
yeah.
lot, but I'm, when I'm there, I'm not thinking about that. I'm not thinking about how it's gonna, turn out in the end. I'm just focusing on trying to make it as authentic and truthful for the character as I can.
Yeah. And with a cast so big, has it become like family for you? Because like I know the core cast all of them have different relationships, and I've had friends on the
Mm-hmm.
show. Is that been a cool experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And like, I'm not there, obviously not there as often as, the main cast are, but every time I come in, it's so fun because it's like, oh hey, like it's been a while, what's up? And Lily and I are really close, and it's always so refreshing to be like, okay, I haven't seen you a couple weeks. Like, what's up? Let's talk.
Yeah,
Like we always
totally.
like it's nice. It's really nice. And for me, a lot of the crew are people that I have worked with for years. So I, just on various projects, which is kind of a fun thing about working in Vancouver because there's always somebody that you've worked on a show with before.
Totally.
And so yeah, it's always really fun getting to go back.
That's amazing. And then, talk to me about something like Nurses. That's
Mm-hmm.
something totally different. How did that come your way?
I put myself on tape for that while I was in LA on I think I was just in LA just with I was renting a house in LA with Rose Reynolds, who played Alice in Wonderland with me on Once Upon a Time.
Okay.
For a couple of years, her and I, because she lives in the UK and I live in Canada, we're like, well, let's go to LA, let's like shoot our shot and see how we do there. And I was there, and I was just about to leave and go back to Vancouver, but I got this taping, put myself on tape, like in my friend's living room.
Yeah.
And it was just one small page that I was like, I don't even know how they could cast a lead of a TV show based on these sides. I was like, all right, whatever, put myself on tape, didn't really think much of it. And then I got a Skype call back because I was in Vancouver and everyone was in Toronto. And Skype callbacks are always very weird
Yeah.
because you're like acting to a screen.
Yeah, I just had an audition through, I think it was like Zoom, and it's so weird. You know what I mean?
It's so weird. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I don't know how this is gonna go. And then there was another round of callbacks, and I had to miss them because I was on set of Riverdale. And I was like, oh no, like they're gonna find their person because I can't be a part of this callback session, whatever. But I ended up like late at night after filming, putting myself on tape again, just for them to see another take of the sides.
Yeah.
Did that, and then I took my mom on a trip to Palm Springs for her birthday,
Aw.
just the two of us. And as we landed, I opened my phone. My agents are calling me. They're like, "How soon can you be in Toronto?" I was like, I just landed in Palm Springs with my
Oh
mom. Like,
no,
what
did you
do
have
you
to turn
mean?
around?
We ended up being able to have 2 nights out of our
Okay.
4 or 3 nights out of our four or something. And then I flew from Palm Springs to Toronto in December, and
Wow.
I had Palm Springs stuff with me.
Oh no,
And
you're
I remember
freezing.
like going to the H&M in Palm Springs and being like, please have a jacket and a pair of boots. Like I just need something.
Yeah, totally.
Um, and I went and it was for a chemistry read, and I read with a bunch of people, including Natasha, who plays Ashley on Nurses with Me, and yeah, did the chemistry read, and I think I found out a couple days later that I had booked it.
That's amazing. And, you know, since
Mm-hmm.
we're on the topic of this, I'd love for you to break it down as someone who's been in the business so long. You know, being in the room is so different than a self tape. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
as kind of the iPhone technology's gotten better and other things have, you know, like COVID have prevented people from being able to be, you know, in rooms. What do you prefer as an act, you know, do you like doing it in the room or do you like self tapes?
I have definitely grown to like both. I think for me, a big part of being what makes being in the room so unique is that, you know, and I've talked to a lot of, you know, especially like on my show Nurses, I've talked to a lot of the producers, and when you're hiring somebody who's going to be the lead of a show, you want to know them just a little bit before, because you're going to like, there's a lot of personalities that have to get along while you're filming a show, and you want to know that the people that you're working with are good people, they're going to be
Yeah.
personable. And I think for me a big thing is I love being in the room because it gives me a chance to, you know, showcase just for a moment who I am, you know, and have a little conversation and get to know people a little bit and then go into the work. And I feel like, you know, as amazing as self tapes are, because you can do it as many times as you want, though I feel like sometimes that gets dangerous because you're like, can I do it again?
I
Can it
know
be
you do
even
it
more
20, you do it so many more
perfect?
times than you ever would in the room.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But what's so, yeah, but you miss that element of like personal connection. And I kind of feel like at times that's where I thrive, at being able to connect with people and kind of sell myself as
Yeah.
me, Tiera, and why I feel like I would be, you know, good for this role. Some, you know, there's been instances where I haven't had the opportunity to like get to know anybody that I'm working with. So I'll write a letter about why I feel like, you know, if I'm close and it's you kind of in that stage, I'll write a letter about why I feel like, you know, I would I feel like I'm the best person for the role.
Yeah. Yeah. That's amazing. And what did it feel like switching from Polly to this, you know, from Riverdale to this set? Was that, you know, did your process change or, you know, talk to me about.
Yeah, definitely, because they're so different. You know,
Yeah.
Nurses is based in, yeah, it's heightened reality. Still, there's
Yeah.
some things that are you push the boundary on because you have to make entertaining TV. But yeah, it was a completely different process. And for me, you know, on Riverdale, I'm in a few episodes here and there, and I'm there a couple of days. Nurses, I was there all day long, every single day,
Yeah.
pretty much. And so the workload was 10 times more than I had previously had, you know, because like on Riverdale and Once Upon a Time, I was there. Well, Once Upon a Time, I did 10 episodes at the end, and that was a very condensed amount of time. But like Nurses was a lot, the workload was very, very heavy. And being the number one on the show, you know, there was a lot of, I felt a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Um, and, you know, also playing a nurse, I was like, well, there's so much more that goes into that than just playing a regular person.
Yeah. Were
I
you able
had
to
to look like,
shadow?
yeah, they had a medical consultant on set for us at all times, and we did like a little like crash medical course
Wow.
before we started filming, um, which was hilarious. I got to learn how to do like the CPR and
Yeah.
like look like I'm how to put a like to give someone an injection in an orange. Like we did like little things like that, but there's so much that goes into, you know, how you take your gloves off, how you move the bed, how you change this, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And you know, so I have a few friends who work in the medical field who I went to for advice and conversations, just to even have like, you know, an understanding of what a nurse goes through on a day-to-day basis. And then yeah, memorizing some of that medical jargon was a real test on my
I
brain.
know that's so hard. The medical vernacular is some of the toughest to make it sound
It's
natural.
hard. And for me, I am one of those people where I'm like, I really need to know what it is I'm saying to be
Yeah.
able to memorize it, which is why I have such a hard time anytime I audition or work in sci-fi. I'm like, what is this based in? I know
I
this is made
know.
up and I can't remember it.
Yeah.
But with the medical stuff, I was like, the only way I could remember it is if I understood it. And so I would do like lots of research on all of these medical things.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing. And then, obviously we've been in a pandemic, and you had a season two. Did you guys shoot that before the pandemic started?
We had just started production. We were halfway through our second episode when we got shut down.
Wow.
And then sent back to Vancouver for 4 months. And then we went back last July and we filmed for 3.5 months to finish the season in
And
the pandemic.
and do you feel like that changed the weight of the show? As these frontline workers became, the most essential humans saving lives. Did
Mm-hmm.
that alter, the gravity of not only the character but just the weight of the show?
Oh, absolutely. We there was a lot of levity and weight to it beforehand, just because nurses aren't somebody who usually has the spotlight
Yeah.
shone on them. Usually, it's the doctors or the surgeons in medical dramas, and for us, that was important. But then going back after the pandemic, there was a certain feeling of like, we're making a TV show, but there's people who are like dying,
Yeah.
and there's people who are saving their lives and who are there every day risking their own safety to keep, people safe, and to keep, even the people who are working in regular parts of the hospital. And it definitely added so much to what we were doing, because we just wanted to honor them in a very authentic way. So yeah, it definitely added a lot of weight just as actors, but then also portraying nurses was, yeah.
And then, if you don't mind, like, how was it technically, difficult, doing this with PPE in a pandemic? Did that
Mm-hmm.
really slow things down for you guys, or were you able to figure it out and do it kind of at a consistent pace?
We, I I am so proud of our show and the way that, our producers and everybody handled everything on the show, because I never felt unsafe once. And I have friends and I have people who worked on other productions who have felt unsafe and have been in scenarios where it was, PPE and testing and it wasn't handled properly. I felt more safe on our set than I did anywhere else in the world.
Wow.
And it was pretty incredible. It did take some getting used to, and there was a lot of like, oh, well, here's a whole list of procedures and protocols that we're being given, and you have to do all of them. But it was a matter of really picking and choosing and kind of like finessing how best they all worked to keep each other safe. And some things that you're like, well, that doesn't actually do anything, but this
Yeah.
is really beneficial. And it was a lot of, teamwork and just a lot of compassion and understanding of like what makes me comfortable might not be the same thing that makes you comfortable,
Yeah.
and needing to be open and aware of that, of like, I'm okay being in this space with you. I know I've been tested, I know I've been safe, but if you're not comfortable, that's fine. Like, having to kind of deal with the way that everybody else is processing and
Yeah.
dealing with the pandemic and their safety. We were getting tested twice or three times a week. All the cast was.
The
We
crew
had to
as
wear.
well, I imagine.
The crew was getting tested, I believe, once a week. And it
Okay.
was funny, the extras were also being tested twice a week. But we had an incredible group of extras, but we had the same group of
I was
extras
gonna say you must have,
all
right? Yeah.
day, every day. So it was like, today, John, you are a doctor. Tomorrow, you'll be a patient. The
That's
next
so
day, you'll be a
funny.
visitor. Like, and you'll see it. We'll be like, no, 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 no. We can't have him in the back of the shot again. He was in the back of the shot yesterday as a doctor. Like, it was a lot of juggling, trying to figure out, how do we figure out this? It was a lot. It was a lot of figuring out, like, okay, we have these same extras, and it was incredible. I feel like the extras were a big part of what kept us safe, because normally extras are, they're different people every single day. They come and go, but to have this group, we felt like such a family, and we felt like we accomplished something amazing at
Yeah,
the
you
end.
pulled off the impossible,
Well, we didn't have a single case. We didn't have a single shutdown.
Oh
We
no,
did
so no
so well.
delays. Wow.
No delays. We like started and finished, no problems. And it
That's
was
incredible.
incredible. I remember every day getting closer to the last episode, and then in the last day of filming, all of us were like nobody wanted to say we did it, but like we were like all thinking like, oh my god, we only have 3 days left. Like, are we gonna do this?
Yeah.
And then on the last day, I got on the plane back home with Natasha.
Could you have a rap party or no?
No, no rap party. And like literally, Natasha, I had finished filming on the Friday. She finished filming on the Saturday. We packed up our apartment Friday night, and we took a flight home like after she wrapped on Saturday. Wow. We like left set, got in a car, got on a plane, and I remember her and I sitting on the plane and being like, did that just happen? Like, did we just do that? Yeah. It was pretty crazy.
That's amazing. And I'm so curious, like I'd love to talk about summer of '84. What was it like doing something that, this like awesome, adventure / horror film? Like, was that experience really cool?
Oh, that was so cool. It felt like we filmed in the summertime, and it felt like we were like at summer camp. Like, wow. It was so much fun. Yeah, it was really incredible. I became really good friends with everybody that I was filming with, and we just had a really, really good time.
Where did you guys shoot that?
We shot that here.
Oh, you did? Wow.
Yeah, all the house stuff. A lot of the house stuff, like that whole creepy basement of the house was built in a studio. And then we filmed, like some of the stuff in the woods just around Vancouver.
And it got into Sundance, right?
Mm-hmm.
How was that experience? That's every actor's dream.
It was incredible. It was so much fun. I was filming Once Upon a Time at the time that we found out. And I remember I was filming a night shoot for Once Upon a Time on like a Friday. And I wrapped at like 4 a.m. or 3 a.m. And my flight was 6 a.m. And I like went from set with my suitcase to the airport, got on a plane, tried to sleep on the plane best I could, and then landed at Sundance, and there was like people there waiting for autographs at the airport. I was like, what is happening? Where am I? And it was incredible because Sundance is like this big. Like the whole city is like one street of Sundance, and it's so small, and everywhere you go, you're like, I know that actor. Oh my God, that's so-and-so. Like, it was the most insane experience ever. Yeah. It was really, really cool.
That's awesome. That's so cool that you got to have that experience. And, talk to me, like, after having, Miracle Season and all these things, like, do you have some goals of material you want to do, or, filmmakers and actors you're interested in working in? Like, what's on your itinerary?
Sorry, my dog can hear another dog barking outside right now, and I can just see her wanting to bark back.
Oh, man.
Don't do it.
My dog's in the other room, does the same thing.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think for me, the longest time, I just wanted to be a working actor. I just wanted to be able to make movies and TV shows and live my life being able to do what I love.
Yeah.
And so I feel like any project is kind of incredible. But of course, like I've started to think about, I would like to direct at some point. So I'm starting to think about like directing a short and doing some stuff like that and kind of breaking into that world a little bit, because I feel like, the two can, you could be an actor and you can be a director.
Yeah, totally. Are you a writer?
No. Okay. I cannot be that. I do not have the patience or the discipline to sit down and write something.
Yeah.
But there's definitely, there's so many amazing filmmakers and actors that I would love to work with. And it's so cool now because there's so many platforms. Yeah. There's so much being made. There's so much being put out there. So yeah, I just feel like, the journey just keeps going.
That's amazing. And it's obviously been a very difficult year for everyone. What's kept you inspired? What kept you going?
I think there was a lot of shifts and there was a lot of changes that came with this year. And I think, part of it in a way was kind of, there's parts of it that was refreshing as an actor, especially for my family, because we're all always working and busy in different places.
Yeah.
And we usually only get like a short condensed amount of time at like Christmas to spend together. And so to have this kind of time to sit down, the four of us, and just have, you know, no work or nothing to do, kind of gave us this opportunity to like get to know each other more and get to know ourselves more, and to spend some real quality time together and just kind of relax. And I feel like for me, that kind of just opened up my, just opened up me in general, like,
Yeah.
you know, made me really think about, you know, what I can do and what I want to do. And I definitely, you know, after a month of sitting at home, was like, I have literally never had this much downtime.
Oh man, it's crazy.
What do I do? And so, you know, I started to find, you know, my own little projects and my own little inspiration and things. And I kind of started, me and Natasha, to promote our show Nurses. Initially, we had kind of started a show kind of like this called Spilling the Tea with Grace and Ashley, where we would have,
amazing.
Yeah, we would have every week, we'd have after the Nurses episode aired, we'd have one of the actors on to talk about that episode. And it's kind of been something, well, like season one has aired on NBC. And we were like, you know what, we really like this. Like, this is fun to do when we're not working, and, you know, to get to know people and be inspired by people. Totally. And to hear their story has been so cool. So we've continued it actually as well. So it's on my Instagram, my IGTV, if you guys want to see it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we're doing like a Women's History Month series right now, where we've had different women come on for the month of March in all different fields of life and just talked about, you know, all sorts of things. And
that's so beautiful.
Really cool.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
You. Yeah, no, it's so, because, you know, I think we were all forced to kind of be like, okay, well, what can we do? How can we be inspired? How can we inspire other people while sitting at home and being safe? So I feel like things like this are just so cool, because you get a little inside look into people's lives and you get to learn something about them. And
yeah, thank you for being on. It means so much to me.
Of course.
You've been so open, and I truly have so much gratitude for that. And so many amazing things are in store for you. Final few questions here, you know, for all the actors that, you know, didn't get started young and are stuck in this pandemic and, you know, want to audition more and get into the business. Any words of wisdom you might have for them?
Yeah, I mean, if you know, the industry is hard. It is hard, and you will get knocked down, and you will, you know, feel discouraged at times. But if it is what you love and it is your passion, then get back up.
Yeah,
keep going. And, you know, work as hard as you can, because no matter how hard you're working, there's probably somebody working harder.
Oh man.
So just work as hard as you can, you know, read books, watch movies, watch actors that inspire you, take classes. You know, so many acting studios and stuff are doing virtual classes right now. But just, you know, keep doing things and keep yourself inspired. And when you get knocked down, get back up, because eventually you will get in that door. You will get seen by the right person, and your time will come.
That's amazing. And final question, you know, I know you talked about directing, but anything that's in your immediate future you can talk about?
Well, season 2 of Nurses will be out sometime this year.
Yeah.
So that's exciting, because we filmed that during the pandemic, and it feels like a huge feat that we had. And then, yeah, we're just kind of right now waiting to see about a 3rd season. And
amazing.
I'm auditioning a bit here and there, and then our little Instagram live show that we do twice a week.
Amazing. That's so rad. I love it. Well, Tiera Skovbye, it was so amazing connecting with you, and you have such a wonderful energy. You're going to take over the world. I know it. And it means so much to me, truly, for you coming on.
Of course. Thank you so much.
All right. Talk soon.
Take care.
I am thrilled to announce that An Actor Despairs is partnering with a wonderful CBD company called Kind Farms. Everyone out there has heard of CBD. I started taking it a few years ago when I first started getting sober, and to help with my anxiety. Sadly, as one can do, I was overtraining in the gym, and a friend recommended a topical and a tincture to help with the pain. I tried it. It was okay. However, recently, I was introduced to a product that has really changed my life. Not only has it helped me with anxiety, but I am stronger than I have ever been. I'm able to carry out lifts my body used to prevent me from doing. Kind Farm products have single-handedly changed my life athletically and personally. They utilize 100% local licensed farmers, organic cultivation, and CO2 extraction for superior CBD. Kind Farms is turning CBD to a kind alternative to pharmaceuticals. Let's transform Tobacco Row into Hemp Row. If you want to get involved, please reach out. Together, we can make a difference. You can use my code RYAN10 for 10% off. You can find them on Instagram at Kind Farms Inc., all one word. That's KINDPHARMSINC, and their website is kindfarmsinc.com. Once again, my code for 10% off is Ryan.